Hey everybody, it's Nico here from Outdoors Anonymous, and today on Gear Talk we're going to be taking a look at my rangefinder, the Vortex Razor HD 4000. Hey everybody, welcome back. So a while back I posted a poll on the channel and I asked on the poll what type of content you guys would like to see some more of moving forward. And the one that got the most votes actually was some more long range shooting videos, shooting at the range, that type of stuff. And don't worry, that will be done. Got a lot of that planned coming up. But the one that got the second most votes was gear reviews. So Gear Talk, talking about what type of gear that I use, whether that's shooting gear, hunting gear, etc, etc. So I decided to start a brand new playlist and I'm gonna call it Gear Talk. You guys will see it linked in the description below. You guys can also find it in my playlists in the channel itself. So be sure to check that out. A lot of cool stuff gonna be coming out on that playlist there. I'll be showing you guys all types of gear that I have, either doing reviews on them, showing you guys tips and tricks on how to use different types of gear that I own. And having said that, guys, I just want to reiterate here again that this channel is 100% self-sponsored. I do not have or do not take sponsors at this time. I've had offers, but unfortunately I have had to turn them all down. I want to keep this channel as honest as possible when I am reviewing a product or recommending a product to you guys. So everything that I show, all the gear that I have here, guys, is something that I bought myself, and if I recommend it, it means I actually enjoy using that product myself and I do recommend it to you guys. And also vice versa, if I don't recommend something, it means I bought that thing, didn't like it, and I ate the loss, but you guys don't have to. Anyways, having said that, guys, let us take a look at today's piece of equipment, and that is the Vortex Razor HD 4000. This is the rangefinder that I use, and I've had this thing now for 3 years, and Vortex makes quality product, whether that's rifle scopes, spotting scopes, rangefinders. I just absolutely love Vortex products. I support Vortex 100%. I don't really use any other type of optics actually at this time. Big fan of Vortex, and you cannot beat their lifetime, no questions asked warranty. Not that you're gonna need it a lot of the times because they make solid products. Like I said, I've had this rangefinder for 3 years. I have had 0 issues with it at all, and it works great. So this is the Razor HD 4000. That number 4000 means that it's supposed to range up to 4,000 yards. Now, whether that can actually range to 4,000 yards or not, it depends on the target. So if it's a reflective target, you can probably range out to 4,000 yards, maybe even past that. The farthest I've ever ranged with this thing was on just some buildings, and that was, I think, the farthest I've ever done on it that I've tried out was about 2,700 yards. And it ranged that building absolutely no problem. So can it get to 4,000 yards? Probably could. I haven't tried it personally myself, but I've seen other videos where guys have been ranging out to that range with this thing. So same rangefinder, and they have had no issues ranging out to 4,000 yards like Vortex says it should be able to do. Now, I want to go over a few key features on this rangefinder that I really like. So I'll give you guys a bit of an overview on the different things that this rangefinder can do, and just a few key features that make this rangefinder really nice. All right, guys, so some really great features on this thing is it has 4 different modes. It has normal mode, first mode, last mode, and ELR mode. And actually it has 5. It also has a scan mode. So we'll be talking about each one and what it does and how you can use it in the field appropriately. But before that, in order to switch between the different modes, you just press this menu button. So you press it once, it'll go from normal mode to first mode, then press it again, it'll go to last mode, Press it another time, it'll go to ELR mode. Press it one more time, it'll go back to normal range finding mode. This also has two different settings. One is line of sight setting, and the other one is the HCD, so the horizontal distance compensator. And what that does is it actually calculates the angle that you're holding it. So what that does is it actually calculates the angle so that it gives you the reading of the actual horizontal distance no matter what the angle is. So if you're shooting downhill or you're shooting uphill, it'll give you the true horizontal distance to that target. Line of sight just gives you the distance of your line of sight. So if, for example, if you're shooting from a tree stand and you're a bow hunter and you range it with the line of sight mode, it'll give you maybe a reading of 25 yards to that deer. Whereas if you have it on the HCD mode, it might give you the actual distance to that deer, which might be only 18 or 20 yards, depending on your angle. So if you range that deer with the line of sight mode, got 25 yards, and you put it on your 25-yard pin, you shot for 25 yards, you might be shooting over that deer. So what you want to do is you want to range. I always range with the HCD setting on. I don't know what use there would be for line of sight in terms of hunting and shooting. I definitely always use it in the HCD setting because that gives you your true horizontal distance to the target. So you don't shoot over your target. All right, so as you guys can see there, I am set for yards and HCD setting. So if we press the menu button, I go from normal to first view, then last view, press it again. That is ELR view, or extended laser range is what it stands for. And then press it one more time and we're back to normal. And if I press and hold the menu button, it'll start blinking. There we go. And now it says HCD. I press the measure button once, it'll go to LOS, line of sight. HCD, horizontal distance compensator. If I press the menu button again, we'll cycle to the measurement, which is either in yards or in meters. And again, you press the measure button on the rangefinder to switch in between the two. So we're going to leave it in yards. And press the menu button one more time, and now we can cycle through the different brightness settings. I'm going to leave it at 3 there. And to get out of the menu screen, you just press and hold the menu button until it goes back to the regular settings. And in order to range, you just press the measure button once and it'll range there. Now to scan, we press and hold the measure button, and you see it says scan mode on there. Now you can move around and it'll scan different measurements as you're moving the rangefinder around. Now I'm just pointing at the wall here, so it's not really going to scan. It's all 5.5 yards away from me. But say you're in the field and you press and hold that measure button, it'll be in scan mode, and you can scan the different distances. The range will change as you point to different things while you are scanning with the rangefinder. All right, well, I hope you guys could see that okay, at least. I just did it in my house here against the wall, so didn't really have much to range. I did try to do it outside through the window, and but it's just so hard to line up the phone camera to the rangefinder there. So I don't know, it wasn't too clear, but I hope you guys can get the idea. And you can't really tell the glass quality through the phone camera there on the rangefinder, but the glass quality is really good. Very clear picture, very crisp. All the functions super easy to use. You just have these two buttons like I was showing you guys there on how to operate it. So it's an awesome rangefinder, super easy to use, and it's robust. I mean, this thing is hardcore. Like I have dropped this thing a few times in the field, more than I care to admit, but it hasn't broken. And if it ever does break, I can just send it into Vortex and get a replacement one. So they got that lifetime warranty, no questions asked, and I absolutely love that. But anyways, having said that, guys, let's talk about the different modes that it has and what you would use those modes for in actual field use, right? So let's talk about the first one, the normal range mode. So normal rangefinder mode, not much to say. You just use that and you range, right? I think the normal mode, you might start to have trouble ranging things past 2,000 yards just using the normal mode. If you want to range things past 2,000 yards, you'll probably have to switch to the ELR mode. Now, the reason why I haven't ranged anything out to like 4,000 yards that it's supposed to be capable of is, well, because I live in the prairies and everything is just flat here, and it's hard to see that far. So if I lived in the mountains and I could see across a valley 4,000 yards away, I could range that easy with this thing, I bet. But yeah, I just don't have the terrain out here where I live that I would ever need to range 4,000 yards. So ELR mode is for ranging out to those farther distances of the rangefinder's capabilities. Normal mode is what I usually use. All right, so let's talk about first mode. So when you set this thing on first mode, what that does is it takes the measurement of the object in front and hopefully not the object behind it. So for example, you are ranging, say, some elk, and there is, there's a hill on the background right behind the elk. So the elk is standing in front of a hill. You don't want to range the hill because maybe that hill in the backdrop is maybe 50 yards behind that elk, and you want to get the measurement to that elk. So that's when first mode would come in handy. You just make sure that you are pointing the reticle on the elk and you hit measure, and it should measure the distance to the elk and not the hill behind it. Now you want to also confirm that by going off of the elk and ranging the hill behind it, and make sure that measurement is different. So make sure you're actually measuring that elk. So that would be when you would use the first mode on this rangefinder. So what last does is the exact opposite of first. So basically you're taking the measurement behind the object that you're pointing at. Now, what you would use that for is, for example, what I've used it for is, say I'm hunting in a ground blind and I have the mesh, the shooting mesh on the window. Now, when I range from inside that ground blind, if I'm on first mode, it'll range that shooting mesh and it won't take the reading behind of the object, of the deer that I'm trying to range outside of the blind. So what I would do is I would switch that to last mode so that the rangefinder will range past that shooting mesh in the blind window, and it'll range the deer outside in the middle of the field. So that's when you would use last mode. Comparing that to the first example, if I was in last mode and I tried to range that elk in front of the hill, it would range the hill behind that elk if I was in last mode. If I was in first mode, it would range the elk that's in front of the hill. It's pretty simple, and I hope that makes sense. And again, ELR mode, extended laser range mode, that's just for ranging the further distances, 2,000 yards plus. It just makes ranging those distances easier. Not that you can't do that in normal mode, maybe you can, but it's definitely going to work better ranging further distances like that if you are in the ELR mode. And then to touch base again on the LOS and HCD, like I said earlier, I don't know when you would use LOS in a shooting or hunting scenario, because you never want to just get that line of sight distance. You always want to know ballistic wise, and for shooting archery, you always want to know the actual horizontal distance, not the angle distance. So I always just have mine set at that HCD setting as well. And same thing with the yards and meters. That's a personal preference. I have mine set at yards. I measure, I zero my rifles and everything else in yards, so I just find it easier to just leave that on yards and not have to do any math in the field to convert from meters to yards if I had it set to meters. So another great feature on the rangefinder there, and I think a lot of rangefinders nowadays you can switch in between meters and yards. But yeah, it's just another great feature on the Vortex Razor HD 4000. And I guess that's gonna cover pretty much everything on this rangefinder, guys. I'm really happy with it. I've used it for 3 years now, and yeah, I have no complaints, and it works great. And honestly, it's pretty much overkill for what I use it for. Like it is a lot for what I need. Price range on this thing, I believe I bought it for around 650 bucks, I think. So, but yeah, like I said, it's even a little too much rangefinder for the uses that I use it for. Could probably get away if you don't need to range that far. You could probably get away with something, you know, a little lower end. You don't need to get some this expensive. I just wanted to get it just in case I ever needed to range out to like 4,000 yards. But if you don't, then you don't need to get some that can range to that distance. You can pick up a little bit of a cheaper rangefinder, either from Vortex or from anybody else, whatever. But yeah, make sure though that I would recommend that if you guys were to get a rangefinder, make sure that it is a rangefinder with that horizontal distance compensator, because that feature in and of itself, that would be a make or break for me when it comes to deciding on a rangefinder to purchase, because you always want to know the exact horizontal distance and not just the angle distance. Otherwise, you are going to be potentially shooting over or shooting under your target if you range incorrectly with that. So if you guys are ever in the market for a rangefinder, make sure it has that horizontal distance compensator. If it has no other feature, make sure it has that horizontal distance compensating feature. Anyways, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on the video here and leave some comments below what you guys thought of the video. Let me know what rangefinder do you guys use, and what's been your experience with what you use. Again, stay tuned for some more Gear Talk videos like this. Keep an eye out on new videos coming out in this series, and hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon so you guys can stay notified when I do upload any future videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.